Our top story, India and China have begun synchronized and organized disengagement from the north and south banks of the Pangong Lake, a Chinese Defense Ministry spokesperson said on Wednesday afternoon. Now, India has not yet responded to Colonel Wu Qian's statement. However, sources told NDTV the government is not denying the reports from the Chinese Defense Ministry. Also today, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh will make a statement in the Rajya Sabha on the present situation in eastern Ladakh.
Now, let's remind our viewers of what we are talking about. All of those areas, Depsang, Galwan, Hot Springs, Gogra, we've spoken about them. There have been talks of disengagement in many of those areas. Then nothing really worked out other than Galwan. But now look at the last two places, Pangong, the North Bank, and Pangong, the South Bank. That is where there is apparently a mutual disengagement. Now, let's move to the next page, remind our viewers of what exactly this was. This was the North Bank of Pangong. These are areas which India believes are our areas. Chinese posts cropped up over the last 1 year, and the Chinese didn't move away at all. So we'll bring you another image of the North Bank of the Pangong Lake. And this is an area which caught our attention several months back, where in a part of the North Bank, the Chinese had written China or Middle Kingdom in Mandarin and superimposed the map of China, which was picked up by satellites, laying claim to their territory. So that's the North Bank where Indian and Chinese soldiers face off, and this is the South Bank where that face off also takes place. In all of the areas, the blue areas are Indian held posts, the red areas are where the Chinese are presently. And the final image that we have, where you see both the North and the South Bank. So let's change the image to the very last one that we have. That shows the North Bank and the South Bank, lots of areas. These are all very important areas which are controlled, some by India and some by China. So it's in this area where the process of disengagement has in fact started out. It's a coordinated, synchronized one. What is the extent of it? We do not know. The Chinese army spokesperson has said that China and India agreed to disengage. There is a simultaneous disengagement which is starting today on both banks of the Pangong Lake. A consensus was reached at the last round of military talks that was held some time back, a few weeks.
Now, the government on Wednesday evening expressed strong displeasure about Twitter's response to the emergency order to block more than 1,000 accounts for alleged spread of provocative content and misinformation on the farmer protest. This is the latest development in this face-off of sorts that's been going on between the social media giant and the government. As a business entity working in India, Twitter must respect the Indian laws and follow them irrespective of Twitter's own rules and guidelines, the government said, making it clear that Twitter should block the accounts immediately. Lawfully passed orders are binding on any business entity. They must be obeyed immediately. If they're executed days later, it becomes meaningless, is what the ministry said in a statement to Twitter. Now, Twitter, which was asked by the government to block 1,178 accounts for allegedly spreading misinformation on the farmer protest and provocative content, had said in a blog that the orders were inconsistent with Indian law and that for some accounts it would restrict access within India instead of an outright ban. In a blog listing the action it's taken, it also conveyed to the centre. Twitter noted that the values that underpin the open internet and free expression are increasingly under threat around the world. They've also sought a meeting with the ministry. Well, let's go across to Nita for more. Nita, in the very latest, the government has come down quite hard and spoken about how any business entity in India must follow the orders.
Yes, Gargi, as we were reporting since yesterday, that government is not going to mince any words in making their stance clear with the Twitter authorities, and that's what they did in the virtual meet, which was chaired by the Secretary Mighty yesterday evening. They categorically said that even though Twitter as a business entity is free to do business here, but they have to respect Indian laws and democratic institutions. In fact, they also, gave example of as to how robust mechanism is there in India for freedom of speech and expression that is elaborately explained as a fundamental right under Article 19/1 of the Constitution of India. But the government said that the freedom of expression is not absolute and this is subject to reasonable restrictions as mentioned in this article, and Twitter has to follow it. And, the secretary also drew his attention the way Twitter, has been processing their request according to their own whims and fancies. In fact, they also said that in the manner in which Twitter allows fake, unverified, anonymous and automated bot accounts to be operated on its platform raises doubt about its commitment to transparency and healthy conversation on this platform. There was also an example given to the Twitter officials about how there was a differential treatment by the Twitter authorities as far as the Capitol Hill incident is also concerned and as far as Red Fort incident is concerned. So they were categorically told that you have to respect Indian laws if you have to operate in India. Gargi?
All right, Neeta, thanks so much for joining us with the latest there. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's response to the motion of thanks on the President's address was overtaken by angry protest from the opposition yesterday as he mentioned the farm laws. After a huge altercation, the Congress and Trinamool Congress walked out as the Prime Minister said the slogan shouting was the planned strategy to drown out reason and hide the truth. The protest started as the Prime Minister, after speaking of COVID, switched to the farm laws, saying the government and Parliament respects farmers and will always continue to respect them.
मैं ये तो देख रहा था कि वो इस कानून के कलर पर तो बहुत बहस कर रहे थे। ब्लैक है कि वाइट है, ब्लैक है कि वाइट है। अच्छा होता उसके कंटेंट पर चर्चा करते, अच्छा होता उसके इंटेंट पे चर्चा करते। जहां तक आंदोलन का सवाल है, दिल्ली के बाहर हमारे जो किसान भाई बहन बैठे हैं, जो भी गलत धारणाएं बनाई गई, जो अफवाहें फैला गई, उसके शिकार हुए हैं। लेकिन मेरा पूरा भाषण बोलने के बाद सब कीजिए, आपको मौका मिला था। आप तो ऐसे शब्द उनके लिए बोल सकते हैं, हम नहीं बोल सकते, हम नहीं बोल सकते हैं। मिस्टर बालू प्लीज प्लीज। नो नो प्लीज आप बैठिए, आपको किसने कहा? किसी कानून का विरोध तो तब मायना रखता है कि जब वो कंपल्सरी हो। ये तो ऑप्शनल है। आपको मर्जी पड़े यहां जाना है जाइए, आपको मर्जी पड़े वहां नहीं जाना है वहां जाइए, जहां ज्यादा फायदा हो वहां किसान चला जाए, ये व्यवस्था की गई है। मैं देख रहा हूं आंदोलन का एक नया तरीका है। क्या तरीका है? आंदोलनकारी जो होते हैं वो ऐसे तरीके नहीं अपनाते, आंदोलन जीवी होते हैं वो ऐसे तरीके अपनाते हैं। और वो कहते हैं ऐसा हुआ तो ऐसा होगा, ऐसा होगा तो ऐसा होगा, ऐसा होगा तो ऐसा होगा। अरे भाई, जो कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, जो होना नहीं है, उसका भय पैदा कर करके, और पिछले कई सालों से लगातार सुप्रीम कोर्ट का एक जजमेंट आ जाए, कोई निर्णय नहीं हुआ है और एकदम से तूफान खड़ा कर दिया जाए, आग लगा दी जाए देश में। मैं हैरान हूं, पहली बार एक नया तर्क आया इस सदन में कि भाई हमने मांगा नहीं था तो दिया क्यों? हमने मांगा नहीं तो दिया क्यों? पहली बात है कि लेना न लेना आपकी मर्जी है, किसी ने किसी के गले मड़ा नहीं है, ऑप्शनल है, एक व्यवस्था है और देश बहुत बड़ा है। हिंदुस्तान के कुछ कोनों में इसका लाभ होगा, हो सकता है किसी एक आध कोने में न भी हो, लेकिन ये कंपल्सरी नहीं है। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, ट्रिपल तलाक, इसके खिलाफ कानून बने, ये किसी ने मांग नहीं की थी, लेकिन प्रगतिशील समाज के लिए आवश्यक है, इसलिए कानून हमने बनाया है। हम ऐसी कंफ्यूज पार्टी, ये देश की भलाई के लिए बहुत आवश्यक है, मिल बैठ करके उसको हमने सोचना चाहिए। सभी दल चाहे सत्ता में हो या विपक्ष में, ये हम सबका दायित्व है और हमें 21वीं सदी में 18वीं शताब्दी की सोच से हमारे एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर को हम उसकी चुनौतियों को पूरा नहीं कर सकते हैं, उसी को हमने बदलना होगा।
And the latest now on the farmers' protest, and the stage is set for the first ever Mahapanchayat to be held in New Grain Market in Jagraon in Ludhiana district today. This is after Mahapanchayats have been held in UP and in Haryana. This is the first big one in Punjab. As many as 31 farmer organizations of Punjab and farmer leaders, including Rakesh Tikayat, Balbir Singh Rajewal and Dr. Darshan Pal, are expected to participate in this Panchayat. Over 1 lakh farmers are expected to also visit. Now, at the Mahapanchayat in UP yesterday, attacking the centre over the new farm laws, Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra told a rally in western Uttar Pradesh's Saharanpur that if voted to power, her party would scrap them. At the Kisan Panchayat organised by the party in Saharanpur, the Congress General Secretary accused Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other BJP leaders of insulting farmers who are protesting against the laws.
$15,000 करोड़ का आपका बकाया आपको नहीं मिला, लेकिन नरेंद्र मोदी जी के दो हवाई जहाज 16,000 करोड़ रुपए में खरीदे गए हैं सरकार से। आप सोच सकते हैं कि इनकी जबान में कितना वजन है। इन्होंने आपको कहा था आपका बकाया मिलेगा, क्या किया इन्होंने? अपने लिए 2 हवाई जहाज खरीदे जिससे दुनिया भर में घूम सकते हैं। क्या किया इन्होंने? दिल्ली में संसद भवन की सुंदरीकरण के लिए 20,000 करोड़ रुपए सरकार के रखे। प्रधानमंत्री ने खुद संसद में किसानों का अपमान किया। क्या कहा उन्होंने? हंसे, किसानों को आंदोलन जीवी कहा।
Now, the latest on the Uttarakhand disaster. Over 3 days of non-stop rescue work. Hundreds are still missing. 13 villages are completely cut off, as we're only now beginning to understand the true extent of the disaster.
These visuals of the Tapovan Hydel project tell a tale of the large-scale devastation caused by the glacial burst in the region. Over 3 days later, rescue teams are still trying to clear the tunnel where 37 workers are trapped.
जो रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन है उसमें बड़ी प्रोग्रेस नहीं है। उसमें इतना है कि अभी जब जो मलबा खोद रहे हैं तो उसमें बड़े बोल्डर भी अब दिखने लगे हैं, तो हो सकता है हमें सफलता मिले जल्दी, हम यही मान रहे हैं।
Alternative routes to rescue these men are also being explored, and contact being established with 13 villages that were completely cut off after the Rainy Bridge was swept away.
रिलीफ तो ऑपरेशन बहुत इजी है। जो 13 गांव से संपर्क कट गया था पुल का, उसको कल हमने जिप लाइन से तो जोड़ ही दिया। उसका फायदा यह है कि वहाँ आदमी भी आराम से आ जा पा रहे हैं पार। ITBP के भी राहत कैंप जो है एस्टेब्लिश हो गए हैं।
अभी जो स्थिति चल रही है कि थोड़ा काम स्लो हो गया परसों से, क्योंकि जो उसके अंदर जो मक भरा है वो बहुत लिक्विड ही है, तो वो लगातार निकलता जा रहा है। शायद वो पहले कंप्रेस हो गया था, इसलिए बहुत ज्यादा तेजी से हम अंदर नहीं पहुंच पा रहे हैं।
Rishi Ganga power project, Hydel power project is absolutely in shambles. The bridges that were there, strategically very important, they are also in shambles. So the Border Road Organization is working there to assess the loss of infrastructure that has happened, also to try and find the bodies of those who got washed away. Here we are right now at the opening of this particular tunnel, which was of NTPC Hydel project, and inside a lot of sludge, a lot of debris was deposited after that flash flood came in this entire area, and that is being cleared. With camera person Ashwini Mehra, Amakshi Dungre, NDTV.
Well, that time for a break. Coming up on the other side of the break, Home Minister Amit Shah will be in Bengal today. We'll get you the details. Welcome back. Will Home Minister Amit Shah unveil a roadmap to implement the Citizenship Amendment Act today? Bengal's Matwa community certainly wants him to. At his rally at their headquarter town and originally from erstwhile East Bengal, many Matuas want the CAA in operation to resolve the question over their citizenship and had voted BJP in 2019. But a delay in its execution has irked them, even sparking protests when the Home Minister cancelled a rally there last month. Trinamool, firmly anti-CAA, is making the most of the BJP's discomfort and trying to woo back the Matuas, whose votes are estimated to be decisive in the 70 of 294 seats in the State Assembly.
A Matua celebration in Kolkata. Many of them will be at Thakurnagar, the Matua headquarter town 70 kilometers away, to hear what Amit Shah has to say on CAA. Matuas, those who don't support the BJP and those who do, are getting impatient.
আমরা চাই যে সিএ যেটা রিনিউ করেছে সেই সিএটা লাগু হোক। ভোটের আগে আর ভোটের পরে আমি বললে তো হবে না, একটা আইন তৈরি করতে গেলে তার বিভিন্ন ধারা উপধারা আছে, একটা সময় লাগে, সেই সময়টা নিশ্চয়ই আমরা অপেক্ষা করব, তবে আমরা আশাবাদী।
ভোটের রাজনীতি হচ্ছে আমি যা বুঝতে পারছি, যেটা আসামে হয়েছে, যেটা পশ্চিমবাংলা হয়েছে, দেখেছে পশ্চিমবাংলায় একটা বড় অংশের রিফিউজি আছে যারা একটা ভোট ব্যাংক। অমিত শাহ কি বলবে সেটা 3 মাস ধরে পিছিয়ে দিচ্ছে, কারণ উনি এসে কি বলবেন আমি জানি না। দেখি আমরা কাগজে দেখব কি বলেন।
Thakurnagar saw protests when Mr. Shah's 30 January rally was scrapped after the Israel embassy blast. BJP's Matua MP was on a spot and his Trinamool predecessor fanned the sentiment. Mamata Banerjee says no need for CAA. All Matuas are Indian citizens.
পার্লামেন্টের মধ্যে যখনই পার্লামেন্টের মাঝখানে উনি সময় পাচ্ছেন, উনি এসে প্রোগ্রাম করছেন এবং এই মঞ্চ, এই সমস্ত স্টেজ থেকে শুরু করে সমস্ত কিছু এরকমই থাকবে। এই মঞ্চে এসে উনি সভা করবেন।
মতো সমাজে আজকে একটা ভাওতা দেওয়া, সেখানে মতো সমাজের উপরে বারবার করে তারা আজকে নাগরিকত্ব দেওয়ার যে প্রতিশ্রুতি দিয়েছিল তারা দিতে পারবে না বলেই, কিছু দিতে পারবে না বলে এখানে আসে।
Why is the Matua vote so important?
Bengal has an SC/ST population of about 27%. Of that, the Matuas are a big component. They also influence the outcome of about 70 seats in the 294 West Bengal Assembly.
BJP wants this community's 27% to neutralize the 30% minority vote, largely with Mamata Banerjee. Parimal Bala, a Matua who just retired from a bank, is one of the many who think so.
যদি মুসলমানের ভোটটা না পায় আর যে 70% ভোট, তার ভিতর দলিত ভোট, SC/STর ভোটটা যাতে বিজেপি নিতে পারে, সে চেষ্টা তো বিজেপি অবশ্যই করছে এবং কাছে না টানতে পারে তাহলে তাদের জেতা অসম্ভব।
The stage at Thakurnagar, built for Amit Shah's earlier rally, was never dismantled as guarantee that he would eventually come and put to rest the Matua worries on citizenship. Hopes are high he will unveil a roadmap for CAA on Thursday. All political eyes set on that rally too. With G.D. Shankar, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
And Amit Shah will today flag off the 4th round of the BJP's Parivartan Yatra from Cooch Behar. He'll also address a public meeting in Bengal today. Time for us to slip into a short break. More news updates on the other side. Stay with us. After getting bail by stand-up comedian Munawar Farooqi from the Supreme Court, the remaining accused are also hopeful that they will get bail soon. Although the bail session of Munawar's friend Sadakat was rejected by the Sessions Court on Tuesday.
First, he was slapped by a bystander as he was being escorted away by the police from the venue of the Munawar event. Now, Sadakat Khan, one of the organizers of the event, remains in jail, his bail rejected. even though Munawar is out on bail.
What is even more surprising is that Sadakat does not even face serious charges as Munawar of allegedly insulting Hindu gods. The charges against Sadakat are organizing an event without necessary permissions and breaking COVID protocols. Still, his bail was denied twice.
Legal experts say that maybe because Sadakat's lawyer, while seeking bail, sought parity with Munawar. But the judge reportedly said there cannot be parity since the charges are different in both cases. Also in jail are other organizers and friends of Munawar. Edwin Anthony from Mumbai, MBA student Prakhar Vyas, and Nalin Yadav, a comedian from MP's Dhar district. A fifth person, Priyam Vyas, got bail since he was a minor. The Indore High Court will hear Edwin and Prakhar's bail on February 12. Nalin Yadav's case is in the Supreme Court. Their chances of bail have improved, claims their lawyers and relatives.
मुनव्वर की जमानत होने के बाद प्रखर व्यास की, एंटनी की, एडविन एंटनी की और नलिन की भी जमानत की संभावनाएं बढ़ गई जिनकी मुनव्वर के साथ खारिज हुई थी और प्रियम की जमानत तो किशोर न्यायालय से हो चुकी है क्योंकि वो खुद जुवेनाइल थे।
मुनव्वर फारूकी की शनिवार को बेल हो चुकी है और मेरे भाई के मैंने पेपर सबमिट कर दिए हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट में और देखते हैं अब जो भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला रहता है मैं उसका सम्मान करता हूँ।
Meanwhile, Munawar's brother maintains Munawar did no wrong and was picked up on the basis of old evidence.
जो एविडेंस इन लोग ने बताया था पुरानी वीडियो है और वो पुरानी वीडियो कम से कम 3-4-6 महीने पुरानी थी। उस पे उसके बाद उसने माफ़ी मांग ली थी। विटनेस भी थे यहाँ पे शो में। वो लोगों ने भी अपना जो सोशल मीडिया वगैरह पे लोग ने अपने ट्विटर वगैरह पे ट्वीट किया था कि मुनव्वर फारूकी ने ऐसी कुछ बात ही स्टार्ट नहीं की थी। मुनव्वर जैसा स्टेज पे आया था उसके बाद जैसे वो एकलव्य गौर क्या नाम है कुछ बंदे का उसने आके अपना मुनव्वर से बात करने चालू कर दिया।
Bail not jail was the clear signal from the Supreme Court. Still, 4 accused in this case are still in jail. With Sameer Khan in Indore and camera person Rizwan in Bhopal, Anurag Dwari for NDTV.
Now, key evidence against Rona Wilson, an accused in the Bhima Koregaon case that is being investigated by the NIA, was planted on a laptop which was seized by the police. This is a report by Arsenal Consulting, a Massachusetts-based digital forensic firm. And they've claimed this according to the firm's forensic assessment, first reported by the Washington Post. An attacker used a malware to infiltrate a laptop belonging to Wilson and deposited at least 10 incriminating letters on it. NIA investigators have alleged a larger plot at play to wage a war against the nation. Wilson is one of the 16 people who've been under arrest in the case. Others include lawyer Sudha Bhardwaj, tribal rights activist and priest Stan Swamy, and activist Varavara Rao.
जहां तक अर्बन नक्सल्स का सवाल है, इसमें क्लिंचिंग एविडेंस है और इसीलिए 2 बार सर्वोच्च न्यायालय तक केस जाने के बावजूद सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने उसके ऊपर उनको कोई भी रिलीफ नहीं दिया और इसलिए मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि चूंकि केस चल रही है उससे ज्यादा मैंने कहना ठीक नहीं है।
Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, could you tell us what is this entire matter now? There is a new report which has come in. Arsenal Forensic Lab has come out with a new report. What does the report say? And how true is that report?
Essentially what the report says is that all the 10 documents on which reliance is placed by the prosecution to implicate not only Mr. Rona Wilson but some of the others are all planted on his computer, do not originate from his computer, are planted by somebody whom he doesn't know, are planted in a manner in which he doesn't even know those letters exist on his computer, and over a period of 2 years, okay, up to the date of the raid, okay, up to 1 day before the raid, things were planted on his computer. These letters especially were planted on his computer without his knowledge. I wish we would know that who actually planted it. We have our own suspicion as to who planted it.
Chief Minister and Home Minister Devendra Fadnavis, he today said that the government had clinching evidence against these activists.
But please ask him a question as to what is this nature of clinching evidence. Okay, it's all right to be a mouthpiece of the police.
My conversation earlier this evening with Mark Spencer, who's the president of Arsenal Consulting, who joined me from Boston, and I began by asking him to tell us a little bit about his firm and how you came to this data, this report. How did this all happen?
Arsenal is a digital forensics consulting firm founded in mid-2009, and we focus very specifically on electronic evidence. So whether that's identifying where electronic evidence may exist, going to preserve that evidence, analyzing it, and ultimately reporting on it, any or all of those things are what we're focused on. We were contacted in early 2020 about this case and possibly analyzing electronic evidence. We didn't get the electronic evidence until July. Once we had the first hard drive, which contained both forensic images and police work product on it, it didn't take us very long to figure out that something very bad had occurred.
Right. Essentially, what you seem to have found is that Rona Wilson's laptop had been infiltrated?
Right. So the timeline to us is fascinating. It's not something we've even heard of before. The laptop was initially compromised by NetWire, the NetWire remote access Trojan, June 13th, 2016. So the NetWire remote access Trojan is being controlled by the attacker as of that date. The hidden folder in which incriminating documents are placed was created November 3rd, 2016. Then the final document, at least as of what we are aware of, the top 10 incriminating documents, was placed into that folder on April 6th, 2018.
Right.
And then the laptop is seized shortly thereafter on April 17th. So it's really the incredible time span here, not only in terms of a computer being compromised. That's not unusual for a computer to be compromised over a long period of time. But to have incriminating documents that are dropped over time onto a computer by something like the NetWire remote access Trojan, that is unprecedented. It's not something, like I said, we've heard of before.
You in fact say in your report that this is the most serious case of tampering you've seen.
Yes.
Okay, could you also just share with us, Mark, the modus operandi used by this attacker?
We have two versions of that exhibit attached to our report. One has what you might call the raw code. One is something more like Rona Wilson would have seen on his screen. But over the course of that particular day, you can see Rona Wilson's associate make multiple attempts at getting him to open this link and get this document. And you can see the entire conversation unfold throughout the day until finally Rona Wilson says to him, okay, I was successful, I got it opened, but I can only see the header of the document, the rest is gibberish. And that his opening that document started the chain of events which resulted in the installation of the NetWire remote access Trojan, which was running an active multiple versions of the NetWire remote access Trojan from that point through its seizure by the police.
Right. And were you able to identify who this attacker was?
No, we are not going to be involved in attribution at this point in any way related to the identity of the attacker. What we can say confidently is it's very obvious that the goals were surveillance. We would say very aggressive surveillance and document delivery, more specifically incriminating document delivery.
Right.
And the attacker had extensive time and resources. I would say emphasis on time. It's really amazing how much time the attacker spent on Rona Wilson's computer.
Right. And Mark, last question to you. Would the authorities here be able to argue that this is not the original drive which they seized from Rona Wilson's laptop? They can turn around and say this could be any drive to which anything could have been done.
No. there's many ways to authenticate a piece of electronic evidence. So those include both things in the more physical world, like chain of custody documents, as well as electronic information such as hash values. So we based our work off of the forensic images that were obtained by the police, and they are in the exact same condition as when the police obtained them. So that's a very straightforward thing to deal with.
All right, moving on to other news now. And in the absence of gyms, fitness classes and indoor health clubs, cycling outdoors has become a very popular choice of workout during the lockdown. Cycle sales also increased. And in the last 1 year, and as Mohammad Ghazali tells us, very little can beat the pleasure of cycling in a city as beautiful as Chandigarh.
Chandigarh is one of India's best planned cities. It's also one of the best cities to go cycling in. Ever since the pandemic and lockdown, cyclists in the city have only increased. With a bit more effort, Chandigarh could emerge as the cycling capital of the country. Mr. Rakesh Mohindra has been cycling for the last 4 decades. 58-year-old Mr. Mohindra credits cycling for saving him from the coronavirus.
एक ऐसी एक्टिविटी है जो एरोबिक एक्टिविटी है जिसमें आप अपनी इम्यूनिटी बहुत जल्दी इंक्रीज कर सकते हैं अगर आप रेगुलर साइकिलिंग करते हैं, क्योंकि आपके पास उस टाइम ना तो कोई और एक्टिविटी करने के लिए था, इसमें ये था भी आप लॉकडाउन से भी थोड़ा सा फ्री हो सकते थे भी अगर आप साइकिलिंग कर रहे थे.
Cycling is not only a cheap mode of transport and saves fuel and other expenses, but is also proved to be a boon for a large section of population, including the healthcare workers like Dr. Vinita Gupta.
Now, I started cycling in May. I am a swimmer actually. I am a regular swimmer. So because of the closure of the pools, there was some exercise to be needed, and cycling is one sport which you can do solo.
But still, there are some challenges for the cycling infrastructure.
The major challenges, one is the infrastructure and the extreme climate condition we have in our areas. Such scenarios make actually cycling very difficult, and then cycling is confined to the only few hours in a 24 hours day. We need a more greener space. Third is certainly a safety. So by combining all that, we need to work upon it. I mean, those are the challenges for us.
The sales of cycle have increased post-lockdown, but many cities still lack basic infrastructure for cyclists. In order to keep healthy and save environment, cycling should be promoted like other sports and athletic events.
And finally, now a special feature as part of our Bijli Donor campaign, highlighting those who are saving electricity in their own way. Today, we take you to Hombalaku in Bengaluru, which is a green home. Take a look.
Bengaluru's HSR layout. This is a city which seems to be almost always under construction. But we're going to take you into a house which is very, very different indeed. And the house itself built very differently. We'll show you how. As you enter the house, you immediately feel how much cooler it is than the outside, even in the midday sun. There is light coming in from skylights. So we have natural lighting here as well. A big skylight over there to let light come in through the day. Were you very particular about what material went into this house?
Yes. We wanted to keep our carbon footprint as low as possible, even at the time of construction. So if you see the material used is, these are all mud blocks.
Just mud blocks?
Just
okay,
mud
yes,
blocks.
Yes.
All walls are mud blocks.
Okay.
So those two are the solar panels,
yes.
which we are using it for all the lighting, fans, okay. everything.
Yes.
Then there is a solar water heater.
Solar water heater.
And since it is, we are using it for last 15 years. Okay. We don't have electric geysers.
It's really an absolute barrier for the dust, for the noise. It's just, and visually as well, it's just an absolute green barrier that you have here. As we've gone around the house, you'd have seen many lovely artworks like this one. on the walls as separate paintings. Outside the house as well, the whole concept of sustainable living continues, and I can see this is your rainwater harvesting system?
Yes, this is the rainwater harvesting system. This is the pit. So all the water that is collected on the rooftop at different levels, it is all channeled through these pipes, and it comes to this pit. It gets filtered.
This is a filtration to actually clean the...
This pit is the filtration tank. It gets filtered, and then after filtration it goes to our sump.
So much. Well, a couple here showing that sustainable living is possible in the heart of the city. You can still have a house that is green and which sends an eco-friendly message. With Govind Murthy, Maya Sharma in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Our top story, India and China have begun synchronized and organized disengagement from the north and south banks of the Pangong Lake, a Chinese Defense Ministry spokesperson said on Wednesday afternoon. Now, India has not yet responded to Colonel Wu Qian's statement. However, sources told NDTV the government is not denying the reports from the Chinese Defense Ministry. And today, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh will be making a statement in the Rajya Sabha on the present situation in eastern Ladakh.
Now let's remind our viewers of what we are talking about. All of those areas, Depsang, Galwan, Hot Springs, Gogra, we've spoken about them. There have been talks of disengagement in many of those areas. Then nothing really worked out other than Galwan. But now look at the last two places, Pangong, the North Bank, and Pangong, the South Bank. That is where there is apparently a mutual disengagement. Now let's move to the next page, remind our viewers of what exactly this was. This was the North Bank of Pangong. These are areas which India believes are our areas. Chinese posts cropped up over the last 1 year, and the Chinese didn't move away at all. So we'll bring you another image of the North Bank of the Pangong Lake. And this is an area which caught our attention several months back, where in a part of the North Bank, the Chinese had written China or Middle Kingdom in Mandarin and superimposed the map of China, which was picked up by satellites, laying claim to their territory. So that's the North Bank where Indian and Chinese soldiers face off, and this is the South Bank where that face off also takes place. In all of the areas, the blue areas are Indian held posts, the red areas are where the Chinese are presently. And the final image that we have, where you see both the North and the South Bank. So let's change the image to the very last one that we have. That shows the North Bank and the South Bank, lots of areas. These are all very important areas which are controlled, some by India and some by China. So it's in this area where the process of disengagement has in fact started out. It's a coordinated, synchronized one. What is the extent of it? We do not know. The Chinese army spokesperson has said that China and India agreed to disengage. There is a simultaneous disengagement which is starting today on both banks of the Pangong Lake. A consensus was reached at the last round of military talks that was held some time back, a few weeks.
Now, the latest in the war between social media giant Twitter and the government on Wednesday expressed strong displeasure about Twitter's response to the emergency order to block more than 1,000 accounts for allegedly spreading provocative content and misinformation on the farmer protest. As a business entity working in India, Twitter must respect Indian laws and follow them irrespective of Twitter's own rules and guidelines, is what the government said, making it clear that Twitter should block the accounts immediately. Lawfully passed orders are binding on any business entity. They must be obeyed immediately. If they are executed days later, it becomes meaningless, is what the ministry said. Citing its crackdown on accounts after last month's violence at Washington's Capitol Hill, the government also accused Twitter of differential treatment. The meeting between Electronics and IT Ministry and Twitter representatives took place after the social media platform snubbed the government over its request to block 1,178 accounts. So Twitter had asked the government to block these over 1,100 accounts for allegedly spreading misinformation. However, The Twitter said that the orders were inconsistent with Indian law and that for some accounts it would restrict access within India instead of an outright ban. In a blog listing the action that they've taken, they also conveyed to the centre yesterday morning that Twitter noted that the values that underpin the open internet and free expression are increasingly under threat around the world. They blocked some 500 accounts. Well, let's go across to Neeta now for all the very latest. So, Neeta, this war really heating up between the government and Twitter, and the government after that meeting that took place yesterday telling Twitter they have to obey the law of the land.
Yes, Gargi, it was a virtual meet which the Secretary Mighty, chaired, and he minced no words that the Twitter authorities need to respect the law of the land. In fact, an example was also given of Capitol Hill as to how Twitter acted swiftly when the request was made by the United States of America, and how they, deterred and delayed action as far as this Red Fort incident was concerned. The government made it clear when Twitter says that it's a transparency policy they follow. The government gave them examples that how some fake accounts run by bots are also being run on Twitter platform, and Twitter has not been able to stop them. The notices which were sent to Twitter were under Section 69A of Information and Technology Act. It's a very serious act. It attracts 7-year penalty. As far as these accounts are concerned, there were over 1,400 accounts which the government wanted action to be taken. Initially, Twitter had blocked some of those accounts, but then again those accounts became functional. That is what had made government a little uneasy, because they felt that the public order was being disturbed, and even the hashtag which was trending online, the government also told Twitter that despite their request, the hashtag was continuing to trend. So yesterday this was about 1.5 hour long meeting in which the Twitter India Authority officials were told categorically that you have to respect land, even though Government of India propagates expression of freedom of speech. But again, there are certain duties and there are certain boundaries which needs to be respected, and you have to follow land of land as far as operations in India are concerned. And if there is some court order or if there is some law, you need to respect that. Gargi?
All right, Neeta, thanks so much for joining us with the latest in this war between the government and Twitter. Now, the stage is set for the first ever Mahapanchayat to be held in Punjab at the New Grain Market in Jagrao in the Ludhiana district. As many as 31 farmer organizations of Punjab and farm leaders, including Rakesh Tikayat, Balbir Singh Rajewal and Dr. Darshan Pal, are expected to attend. Well, let's go across to NDTV's Ghazali for more on this. In Ghazali, they're expecting at least 1 lakh farmers as well to attend.
Yeah, perhaps because this is the first Mahapanchayat in Punjab, because Mahapanchayats are generally being held in western UP and Haryana. So we can say that Punjab is also going the Haryana way. And in some sense or the other, this Mahapanchayat in Punjab is going to be prominently participated by the Punjab Farm Union leaders. So since this agitation started and it has seen many phases like violence, registration of cases, then this tractor parade, now we also noticed that there were several differences which cropped up between the union leaders of Punjab. So in some sense it will be a show of its strength to at least show to Punjabis that they are united. So leaders like Balbir Singh Rajewal, Darshan Pal, Dallewal, these are prominent leaders of the union, of the 32 farm unions. So most of them will be here on this stage. Apart from this, why this Mahapanchayat is relevant? Because in rest of the states where these Mahapanchayats are happening, be it UP and or Haryana, the governments there are not supporting the farm agitation. But in Punjab, the Congress government is supporting the farm agitation. So the opposition parties in Punjab, like in rest of the states, the opposition parties are trying to cash in on this farm agitation. So it would be interesting to see that which party tries to sort of reap political dividends out of this agitation which is happening in Punjab, because in opposition there is Akali Dal and Aam Aadmi Party, and Punjab is also going for local body polls. And what we have seen that in local body polls, even in the urban areas, if we talk about BJP, they are talking about farmers agitation, they are talking about MSP and assured income to farmers in urban areas. So somewhere or the other, farm agitation or this entire issue of controversial farm laws have become the talking point for every party. But today in Punjab, interestingly, the Congress is holding a separate agitation over rising fuel prices, which is seen by many, that Congress is trying to ensure that their vote bank or their instance is very clear and they don't give that edge to farm union leaders, because this Mahapanchayat in Punjab will also signify that farmers have come, the leaders are also trying to bring in a consolidated vote bank and trying to push farmers as a consolidated vote bank that they are not taken granted for by the political parties like they have been being taken for granted in the previous elections or polls in the state. So too many political implications of this Mahapanchayat in Punjab, and very interestingly, it would be seen that which political party or the workers of party try to align themselves with the Mahapanchayat today in Ludhiana.
All right, Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. Now, in other news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to his Canadian counterpart, Justin Trudeau, and assured that India will do its best to facilitate supplies of COVID vaccines sought by Canada. Was happy to receive a call from my friend Justin Trudeau, assured him that India would do its best to facilitate supplies of COVID vaccines. Prime Minister Modi said in a tweet. The two leaders also reiterated the common perspective shared by India and Canada on many important geopolitical issues. They agreed to continue the close collaboration between both countries in fighting global challenges like climate change and the economic impacts of the pandemic. Now, the Prime Minister's office also released a statement on the conversations and added that expressing his appreciation, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that if the world managed to conquer COVID, it would be significantly because of India's tremendous pharmaceutical capacity and Prime Minister Modi's leadership in sharing this capacity with the world. Now, the readout of the Canadian side also mentioned that the leaders discussed Canada and India's commitment to democratic principles, recent protests, and the importance of resolving issues through dialogue. News now from West Bengal, and Home Minister Amit Shah is travelling today to Assam first and then North and South Bengal, and at all three stops the common thread is the upcoming elections and CAA. In Assam, the Home Minister will meet Ananta Rai, an influential leader of the Koch Rajbanshi community spread over parts of the state as well as North Bengal. He will also then fly to Cooch Behar, the North Bengal district, and he will flag off the Rath Yatra there. Well, let's go across to Monideepa now for more. Moni, tell us more about what's expected during Amit Shah's visit.
Well, perhaps equally important, as his North Bengal visit and his Assam visit, is his rally in South Bengal later in the day at a place called Thakur Nagar, where he will be addressing a largely Mathua community. Now, what's happening is that the Mathua community in Bengal, which is fairly significant, they want CAA implemented. They have citizenship issues because they are originally from East Pakistan or East Bengal, as it were, and they want CAA so that question marks over their citizenship are resolved. Now, they voted BJP in large numbers in 2019. The MP from Bonga district, where this meeting is being, Bonga constituency, where this meeting is being held, he is a Mathua MP of the BJP party. But the delay in the implementation of CAA has upset them. Also, last 10 days ago, Mr. Amit Shah was supposed to come in to Thakur Nagar and hold a rally and perhaps unveil a roadmap for the CAA. But that meeting was cancelled because of the Israel embassy blast. And so he didn't show up, and that led to more heartburn among the Mathua community, who are part of the SC community, which is huge in Bengal, about 24%, and control as many as 70 seats. They influence the outcome of election results in 70 seats. So the Mathuas are waiting for Mr. Amit Shah to make the position clear on CAA, but at the same time, the Rajbanshi community, also of the SC community, who Mr. Shah is meeting earlier in Assam and North Bengal, they are not happy with CAA because many Rajbanshis in Assam have, ended up, missing from the NRC. So Mr. Amit Shah is going to have to do this balancing act today on CAA, and all political eyes are on his visit, not just for the Rath Yatra in North Bengal, which is of course significant, but also on how he tiptoes round the question marks and the debate that is erupting afresh on the CAA issue in Bengal and Assam ahead of the elections.
All right, Moni, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. And staying with news from Bengal, the election campaign is heading north. Mamata Banerjee in Malda and Raiganj today. And as Moni was telling us, Amit Shah will be flagging off the Rath Yatra in Cooch Behar.
মনে রাখবেন বিজেপিকে নিয়ে আসা মানে দাঙ্গাকে উৎসাহ দেয়া না যেমন করে হোক গায়ের জোরে মমতাকে হারাতেই হবে আর আমি বলি মমতাকে হারানোর ক্ষমতা তোমাদের নেই তার কারণ মমতা একা নয় মমতার সাথে সব মানুষ আছেন বন্দে
Mamata's SOS to Malda and Uttar Dinajpur districts with a high percentage of minority votes where BJP has made inroads. In Malda, a traditional Congress fort, BJP won a Lok Sabha seat in 2019 and led in 6 of the 12 assembly segments. The TNC only in 2. In Uttar Dinajpur, BJP snatched the Raiganj seat from CPM and led in 4 of 9 assembly segments. Mamata Banerjee needs that to change in the face of the looming BJP threat.
Lok Sabhateও জিরো বিধান সভাতেও প্রায় নেই বললেই চলে কংগ্রেসের কয়েকজন আমাদের সাথে এসেছে বলে তাই তারা আজকে আমাদের সাথে আছেন আমরা কি একদম পাবো না কোনোদিন মালদা কি আমরা পাবো না যে ইলেকশন আসে সিপিএম কংগ্রেস আর বিজেপি ভাগাভাগি করে নেয় আর তৃণমূল কংগ্রেস একেবারে শূন্য হাতে ফিরে যায় এবার কিন্তু আমি শূন্য হাতে ফিরে যেতে আসিনি
Not just Malda and Uttar Dinajpur, BJP has made inroads across North Bengal and Amit Shah is in Cooch Behar to press that advantage with his maiden Rath Yatra in the state. He then flies into a rally in South Bengal where JP Nadda flagged off 2 Rath Yatras in one day.
ममता जी को गुस्सा आता है कि नहीं आता आता है ना होवे ना होवे ना होवे ना ये कट मनी समय आ गया है कट मनी को मई महीने में कट कर दो
At his Thakurnagar rally in the stronghold of the influential SC community in West Bengal, the Mothuas, who want the CAA implemented, Amit Shah may unveil a roadmap. All Mothuas are already Indian citizens and don't need the CAA, Mamata Banerjee has said. All eyes on that battleground next. In Kolkata with Monideepa Banerjee and camera person GD Shankar, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Now the latest from Uttarakhand. In over 3 days of non-stop rescue work, hundreds still missing. 13 villages have been completely cut off as we're just only beginning to understand the true extent of the disaster.
These visuals of the Tapovan Hydel project tell a tale of the large-scale devastation caused by the glacial burst in the region. Over 3 days later, rescue teams are still trying to clear the tunnel where 37 workers are trapped.
जो रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन है उसमें बड़ी प्रोग्रेस नहीं है उसमें इतना है कि अभी जब जो मलबा खोद रहे हैं तो उसमें बड़े बोल्डर भी अब दिखने लगे हैं तो हो सकता है हमें सफलता मिले जल्दी हम यही मान रहे हैं
Alternative routes to rescue these men are also being explored and contact being established with 13 villages that were completely cut off after the rainy bridge was swept away.
रिलीफ तो ऑपरेशन बहुत इजी है जो 13 गांव से संपर्क कट गया था पुल का उसको कल हमने जिप लाइन से तो जोड़ ही दिया उसका फायदा यह है कि वहाँ आदमी भी आराम से आ जा पा रहे हैं पार आईटीबीपी के भी राहत कैंप जो है एस्टेब्लिश हो गए हैं
अभी जो स्थिति चल रही है कि थोड़ा काम स्लो हो गया परसों से क्योंकि जो उसके अंदर जो मक भरा है वो बहुत लिक्विड ही है तो वो लगातार निकलता जा रहा है शायद वो पहले कंप्रेस हो गया था इसलिए बहुत ज्यादा तेजी से हम अंदर नहीं पहुंच पा रहे हैं
ऋषि गंगा पावर प्रोजेक्ट Hydel power project is absolutely in shambles. The bridges that were there, strategically very important, they are also in shambles. So the Border Road Organization is working there to assess the loss of infrastructure that has happened, also to try and find the bodies of those who got washed away. Here we are right now at the opening of this particular tunnel which was of NTPC Hydel project and inside a lot of sludge, a lot of debris was deposited after that flash flood came in this entire area and that is being cleared. With camera person Ashwini Mehra, Amakshi Dongre, NDTV.
Welcome back. Let's get you news now from Hyderabad, where the mayor election for the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation Council is set to be held today after the ceremony of the newly elected corporators taking oath. The ruling Telangana Rashtra Samiti had emerged as the single largest party but failed to get a simple majority by itself in those elections that were held in December. Well, let's go across to NDTV's Uma for more. So, Uma, tell us what's expected.
As you know, the run-up to the municipal elections that were held on the 1st of December and results announced on December 4 was really high octane with all national leaders coming in. And right now I'm here at the Peddamma Gudi, which is at Bashir Bagh, right by the side of the police commissioner's office. And those are the corporators of the BJP. They are 48 in number, whereas the TRS has 56 members in the council itself, the newly elected corporators who will be taking oath. And the TRS, even though, as you mentioned, does not have a majority by itself, is expected to still win the mayor and the deputy mayor post, because they also have something called the ex officio members, which means the MLAs, the MPs and the MLCs who are having voting rights within the city. They are allowed to act as ex officio members, and by adding up that number of 32 to the 58 that the TRS has, they will be able to get the numbers required to get both mayor post and a deputy mayor post. But the BJP has been on the aggressive here in Telangana ever since their victory in by-election that happened, Dubak by-election, and subsequently the GHMC elections, and that's the reason why they are making such a spectacle of this, with all the corporators, 48 of them, coming to this temple and in fact offering their prayers, and subsequently they'll be going in a Padyatra from here to the corporation. The BJP has been a very, very marginal player in Telangana, but certainly fancies itself as having a chance to even get Telangana in the 2023 elections when they happen, and that's the reason why they are raising the pitch in this particular election, and in fact saying that they are going to be contesting for both the mayor post as well as the deputy mayor post. They may not get the numbers, but perhaps they are hoping that there will be some split voting and so on and so forth. So the BJP is going to contest both the mayor post and the deputy mayor post.
Yes, we have the right to contest, and we are not less than TRS. We want to show our strength.
You have only 48 numbers as of now, and yet you believe that it is important to make your claim to the post of mayor.
Exactly. Okay.
So the BJP is certainly making its political ambitions very clear in Telangana in trying to make a stake for the mayor and the deputy mayor post. And that's the kind of a pitch that the BJP has in fact maintained ever since the municipal elections. What we are expecting is that all these corporator elects will be first taking their vote to office, and then subsequently after the 150 corporators in fact take their vote, after that will be the mayoral election that will happen at 12:30 p.m. today. That's what the State Election Commission has said, because by the 10th of February, in fact, the term of the previous council is ending, and now it's the turn for the new mayor to be elected. Of course, this time the mayor's post is reserved, in fact, for a woman candidate. The chief minister has said that he will give the names of the mayor and the deputy mayor who they must elect after the vote-taking ceremony, and it will be in a sealed cover. And similarly, the BJP is also having a similar strategy of having a name put in a sealed cover, and then the corporators will be asked to vote for it. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Uma, for joining us with all the latest there. In other news, after getting bail by stand-up comedian Munawar Farooqi from the Supreme Court, the remaining accused are also hopeful that they will get bail soon, although the bail session of Munawar's friend Sadakat was rejected by the Sessions Court on Tuesday.
First, he was slapped by a bystander as he was being escorted away by the police from the venue of the Munawar event. Now, Sadakat Khan, one of the organizers of the event, remains in jail, his bail rejected, even though Munawar is out on bail.
What is even more surprising is that Sadakat does not even face serious charges as Munawar of allegedly insulting Hindu gods. The charges against Sadakat are organizing an event without necessary permissions and breaking COVID protocols. Still, his bail was denied twice.
Legal experts say that maybe because Sadakat's lawyer, while seeking bail, sought parity with Munawar. But the judge reportedly said there cannot be parity since the charges are different in both cases. Also in jail are other organizers and friends of Munawar. Edwin Anthony from Mumbai, MBA student Prakhar Vyas, and Nalin Yadav, a comedian from MP's Dhar district. A fifth person, Priyam Vyas, got bail since he was a minor. The Indore High Court will hear Edwin and Prakhar's bail on February 12. Nalin Yadav's case is in the Supreme Court. Their chances of bail have improved, claims their lawyers and relatives.
मुनव्वर की जमानत होने के बाद प्रखर व्यास की, एंटनी की, एडविन एंटनी की और नलिन की भी जमानत की संभावनाएं बढ़ गई, जिनकी मुनव्वर के साथ खारिज हुई थी, और प्रियम की जमानत तो किशोर न्यायालय से हो चुकी है क्योंकि वो खुद जुवेनाइल थे।
मुनव्वर फारूकी की शनिवार को बेल हो चुकी है और मेरे भाई के मैंने पेपर सबमिट कर दिए हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, और देखते हैं अब जो भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला रहता है मैं उसका सम्मान करता हूँ।
Meanwhile, Munawwar's brother maintains Munawwar did no wrong and was picked up on the basis of old evidence.
जो एविडेंस इन लोग ने बताया था पुरानी वीडियो है, और वो पुरानी वीडियो कम से कम 3-4-6 महीने पुरानी थी। उस पे उसके बाद उसने माफ़ी मांग ली थी। विटनेस भी थे यहाँ पे शो में, वो लोगों ने भी अपना जो सोशल मीडिया वगैरह पे लोग ने अपने ट्विटर वगैरह पे ट्वीट किया था कि मुनव्वर फारूकी ने ऐसी कुछ बात ही स्टार्ट नहीं की थी। मुनव्वर जैसा स्टेज पे आया था, उसके बाद जैसे वो एकलव्य गौर, क्या नाम है कुछ बंदे का, उसने आके अपना मुनव्वर से बात करने चालू कर दिया।
Bail not jail was the clear signal from the Supreme Court. Still, 4 accused in this case are still in jail. With Sameer Khan in Indore and camera person Rizwan in Bhopal, Anurag Dwari for NDTV.
In other news, key evidence against Rona Wilson, an accused in the Bhima Koregaon case that is being investigated by the NIA, was planted on a laptop seized by the police. That's what a report by Arsenal Consulting, a Massachusetts-based digital forensic firm, has claimed. According to the firm's forensic assessment, first reported by the Washington Post, an attacker used malware to infiltrate a laptop belonging to Wilson and deposit at least 10 incriminating letters on it. NIA investigators have alleged a larger plot at play to wage war against the nation. Wilson is one of the 16 people who is under arrest in this case. Others include lawyer Sudha Bhardwaj, a tribal rights activist, and priest Stan Swami, and activist Varavara Rao. The BJP, however, defended the arrests which were made under the BJP government in Maharashtra.
जहां तक अर्बन नक्सल्स का सवाल है, इसमें क्लिंचिंग एविडेंस है और इसीलिए 2 बार सर्वोच्च न्यायालय तक केस जाने के बावजूद सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने उसके ऊपर उनको कोई भी रिलीफ नहीं दिया, और इसलिए मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि चूंकि केस चल रही है उससे ज्यादा मैंने कहना ठीक नहीं है।
Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, could you tell us what is this entire matter now? There is a new report which has come in. Arsenal Forensic Lab has come out with a new report. What does the report say? And how true is that report?
Essentially what the report says is that all the 10 documents on which reliance is placed by the prosecution to implicate not only Mr. Rona Wilson but some of the others are all planted on his computer, do not originate from his computer, are planted by somebody whom he doesn't know, are planted in a manner in which he doesn't even know those letters exist on his computer, and over a period of 2 years, okay, up to the date of the raid, okay, up to 1 day before the raid, things were planted on his computer. These letters especially, were planted on his computer without his knowledge. I wish we would know that who actually planted it. We have our own suspicion as to who planted it.
Chief Minister and Home Minister Devendra Fadnavis, he today said that the government had clinching evidence against these activists.
Please ask him a question as to what is this nature of clinching evidence. Okay, it's all right to be a mouthpiece of the police.
The Supreme Court on Wednesday ordered status quo on the dismantling of decommissioned aircraft carrier Virat, but a Gujarat-based shipbreaker who's purchased it said it is now too late for any restoration effort.
This is all that remains of a warship that defined India's maritime ambitions for more than 3 decades. Large chunks of a deck from which Sea Harrier jets used to leap to the skies have been cut off by blowtorches of the Alang-based Shriram group of shipbreakers, which is why today's order by the Chief Justice ordering a stay on further dismantling of Virat has almost certainly come too late. For months, Envitech Marine Consultants Private Limited, the group that wanted to convert the aircraft carrier into a maritime museum, off the coast of Goa went from pillar to post to try and obtain a no-objection certificate from the Defence Ministry, which had sold the warship to the shipbreakers for 38.5 crores. NVTech even reached an agreement to acquire the ship from the shipbreaker and agreed to pay 100 crores. But the Shriram Group said no, not till an NOC came from the centre. That no-objection certificate never came. And after waiting 100 days, the shipbuilder went ahead and started to break Virat, despite knowing that an appeal was being made to the Supreme Court. Asked today about the condition of the hull of the ship, the MD of the company told NDTV, all cutting done. The plan to convert Virat into Asia's finest maritime museum was going to cost the government not a single rupee. The Goa government had agreed to a joint venture to berth the warship, and a trust in the UK was even willing to tow the ship back to Liverpool if that didn't work out. Before being commissioned into the Indian Navy, Virat was known as Hermes and had helped the UK win the Falkland Islands War of 1982. Today her metal is set to be sold for scrap. Vishnu Shom for NDTV.